Guys, what's going on? This is RJ Game News USA here, and we're going to go over the review scores for Death Stranding 2 on the beach. And this is rather interesting. The original Death Stranding got an 82, and Death Stranding 2 got a 90. That's a must play on Metacritic. Now, you guys know I was way against the first Death Stranding. I didn't see the appeal at all. I played it on stream and I had a lot of fun, unironically, falling down. It was really bizarre. Never picked the game up after that stream. Just never had a desire to play a second playthrough, though. Past the initial few hours. And then Death Stranding 2 came out, and it's getting high praise. So, let's go over these review scores on Metacritic. I hope you're having a good day. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. And let's start with the perfect scores. So, of course, this game got 103 positive reviews and 4 mixed. Starting with the perfect scores, COG Connected with a perfect 100, saying Death Stranding 2 is a massive achievement for Kojima and Kojima Productions. It elevates nearly everything that made the original such a unique experience. It streamlines the majority of its systems to make them more palatable. There you go. I'm not going to read every single review because there's so many. But I will say Dextero, Critical Hits, GRY Online, IGN Brazil, Loot Level Chill, Menu PlayStation, Press Start Australia, Radio Times, Push Square, Screen Rant, Tech Radar Gaming, Toastio, Tiara Games, VGC, Well Played, Vexel, Washington Post, Gaming Bolt, Gaming Nexus, PlayStation Lifestyle, all gave it a perfect 100. But that's not all. The Guardian gave it a perfect 100. Usually a reviewer that absolutely trashes games. And they said, of the many things Death Stranding 2 is trying to say, the message that comes to the fore is, if you are ever truly alone, global disasters, big tech, even death itself, these things might abstract the way you connect to one matters. Okay? DB LTAP, Comic Book, The Times, IGN Spain, Atomics, Culture Geek, Matatoys Nerds, Irish Independent, all gave it a 100. Many, many 100s for this game, which shocks me. This is clearly going to put it in the Game of the Year contender category for most people. How about a 96 from Play UA, saying Death Stranding 2 on the beach can only be compared to Death Stranding itself. The melancholic journey of ropes that evolved into action-packed adventure of Styx in their quest to enhance every aspect of the experience, Kojima and his team did well. And 4P.de, CD Action, PSX Brazil, PlayStation Universe, Digital Chumps, Jinx TV, PlayZine, IndieWire, all gave it a 95, with IndieWire saying, like anyone who's played their way through the past 30 years or more of Kojima's work, I've come to expect a certain degree of eccentricity from AAA gaming's most distinctive author. Be that as it may, Kojima's fetilicious cinephilia made Death Stranding 2 a masterpiece. Look, this reviewer, chill out on some of these words, bro. Area Jungus with a 92, saying Death Stranding 2 far surpasses the first entry of the franchise. New elements in the sequel elevate the experience, overcoming the repetitive nature of gameplay. Death Stranding 2 is a fully immersive game, reinforced by spectacular graphics. Hobby Consoles and IGN Benelux, Vandal, and Impulse Gamer also gave it a 92, with Player 2 giving it a 91, saying, if true love is accepting flaws, then I suppose I loved Death Stranding too. Its foibles and mistakes apparent for no real consequence during my time with it. A few days out from full release, I still haven't quite digested everything Kojima has done here. And we're going to have a slew of 90s, guys. But why, though? CG Magazine, Game Cult, GamePro Germany, Gamer.no, Game Reactor UK, GameSky, GamersRD, Games.ch, IGN Adria, IGN Deutschland, Innoven, Inverse, Oygunster, The Games Machine, XGN, all gave it a 90, with IGN itself with a 90, saying the original Death Stranding held promise, a complex, often confusing but never contrived first draft, a reflective journey across a lost America. It established a world and its rules with a flourish, even if I found it stumbled along the path. But Death Stranding 2 is an improvement in every way. More 90s from the Video Gamer, Game & Mobile PlaySense, Giga, Games.ex, The Gamer, Worth Playing, Power Unlimited, Gaming Trend, V Games, Level Up, Maristation, IGN Portugal, Game B, all gave it a 90. Game Informer with an 88, saying Death Stranding 2 is a game with faults and annoyances, but it also makes big, expensive swings and trying to establish its own unique genre, often successfully. So now we're really into reviews that are below what the average Metacritic is of a 90, but not too far down. Merlin and Kanzani from Turkey gave it an 87, and Spazio Games gave it an 87, saying Death Stranding 2 is a bold game that knows exactly what it wants to be when it grows up. It carries the shadow of being a little less of an experience and a bit less unique than the first, yet it remains unmistakable and eccentric compared to anything else on the market. And then Combo Infinito, Sector, GameOver.gr, Jux Video, GameStar, MGG all gave it an 85, with MGG saying, while Death Stranding 2 is overall a better finished game and a more engaging game than the predecessor, it's also less memorable experience. The grandiose environments presented with beautiful soundtrack and major improvements linked to progression failed to hide its flaws. How about an 82 from This Is Game? Saying Death Stranding 2 is a visually stunning and deeply immersive delivery action game that expands on its predecessor with rich combat and vast, ever-changing world, but its overlong cutscenes and muddled storytelling may exhaust even the most dedicated fans. That is Kojima. Digital Trends, Game Reactor Spain, Games Radar Plus, Cone Supply Fin, Silla Cerno, The Sixth Axis, True Gaming, Eurogamer Germany, VG247, EveryEye.it, Multiplayer.it, IGN Italia, PC Games, all gave it an 80, and Het Newsbald with an 80, saying the action is not the only point in which Death Stranding 2 surpasses its predecessor. For one, the story is a lot easier to follow thanks to the new Corpus feature, where you can easily catch up on reading, and the world looks so much more diverse. We got a 75 from IGN Turkey and a 75 from GameSurf, saying Death Stranding 2 is a narratively disappointing and mechanically over-similar sequel. It lacks the novelty of its predecessor, and the likes mechanic has less impact. The story relies too heavily on retcons and unexplained plot points, failing to provide a sufficient reason to purchase this game. Now we've really got some hard-hitting criticism here. That's it for all the positive reviews. We're on to the mixed. There's only 4 of them. And I will read each of the 4. GameSpot with a 70, saying the first Death Stranding was eerily present. Releasing in 2019, it was impossible to divorce from the COVID-19 pandemic that followed a year later, The parallels between the preppers living in bunkers and people struggling to find ways to connect with others. Oh, we're just going to make it all fucking political, GameSpot? Come on, guys. We don't want to hear about COVID when we're talking about Death Stranding 2. Metro Game Central with a 70. A surprisingly iterative sequel that's nonetheless superior to its predecessor, and despite some dull moments and an incoherent narrative, is still the best Metal Gear game in a decade. Keep in mind, they said it's the best Metal Gear game in a decade. It's better than the predecessor of Death Stranding 2. But yet, they only gave it a 70. So, they don't think that highly of Kojima, do they? And the lowest scores on the list are IGN France and Restart.Run. I'll read IGN France first. Saying Death Stranding 2 isn't a bad game. It's a beautiful game, but it disappoints precisely where the first one was astonishing. By leveling out the difficulty, rendering the journey useless, watering down what made the original game tough and an unforgettable experience. There are some people that say Death Stranding 1's better, but not many. And the last review of the day, Restart.Run with a 60, saying Death Stranding 2 is a game that pulls from the same playbook as the original, one that wants you to know it was made by the creator of Metal Gear Solid and doesn't use its 55-hour runtime to pull on the threads that are interesting about the world. Yikes. Overall, though, still a 90, still a great game. Obviously, Metacritic says a must-play. Is it a must-play for you? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to hit the like button on the way out. Thank you all for watching the video. I will see you all soon.